All right, let's go in depth to close out the week. And what better way to spend our Friday than talking about Monday? We reported on this home here that collapsed in Rodanthe. Who can forget? The waves washed it away. And it got us thinking a lot about the deeper problems in this part of the Outer Banks. It's not just about climate change. It's a lot about money. You see, beach towns up and down the coast, they renourish their coastlines every couple of years, spending millions of dollars to pump sand from out in the ocean back onto the shore. Because if they don't, erosion would eventually come for all of them. Rodanthe, though, is in a difficult spot. The beach there erodes a lot faster than the other places, and they lack the tax base to pay for the renourishment. Now, technically, that story was not an in-depth segment, but that didn't stop you from sending in a lot of emails, and I think that is great. You should always send your thoughts to Dan at WRAL.com, even if it's not something that we specifically covered in depth. Whether we put this fancy graphic on it or not, my inbox is always open. Now, after that Rodanthe story, I got an email from Lee. He wrote, "Why hasn't the town, county, or state done anything to prevent the mess that follows the collapse? It seems as if there should be some preventative measures taken once the building is in danger." Lee makes a really good point, doesn't he? There are some ways to prevent the mess, and I bet you can figure out what often stands in the way. Money. That's right. Once again, money is the problem. For instance, the people who own that most recent home that collapsed in Rodanthe tried to avoid the mess. They sent a letter offering to sell the house to the National Park Service so that they could demolish the home before it collapsed into the water. And it would have been a bargain, $220,000. The property was worth just over $350,000. And this isn't some crazy ask. The National Park Service has done this before. They actually bought 2 homes in Rodanthe last October for more than $700,000 combined, using a special fund to protect natural areas. The Park Service tore down the homes before they could collapse and pollute the beach. Now, clearly, in this case, that sale and that demolition never happened, probably in part because that letter was sent like a day before the collapse, to which you might say, Dan, the homeowners should have done something sooner. Well, they say they tried that too. In January of 2023, they bought a vacant lot 350 yards away with a plan to move that house. This is something that a lot of people in Rodanthe have considered. We actually spoke to a man with a home just a couple of doors down.
I wonder if at some point in time that whole island's going to wash away. I hope not, because the history there is just unbelievable. It's outrageously expensive and you get no help. You're all on your own.
So the owners of that collapsed home, the recent one, ran into that same problem. Moving the house costs more than the house itself. But Dan, what about the flood insurance? The flood insurance could help. Unfortunately, not really. Federal flood insurance does not cover relocating or removing a home from harm's way, even though it used to. There was something called the Upton Jones Act. It provided coverage for structures in danger on the shoreline, paying up to 40% of the flood policy to relocate or 110% to demolish. That law was repealed in 1994 because lawmakers thought they were giving away too much money. Which brings me to the irony of this whole situation. So here, just to recap, is the equation. Homeowners can't afford to renourish the beach, and the state won't help. The homes are too expensive to move, and insurance won't help. So, in some cases, the only way for homeowners to get anything is to wait for the ocean to take the home. Because this is the one thing insurance will actually pay for. And you might be thinking, that sounds like some people are actually incentivized to let the worst thing happen. And yeah, you'd have a pretty good point. And you're not the only one thinking it. 2 congressmen from North Carolina, Greg Murphy, a Republican, Don Davis, a Democrat, are sponsoring a bill to bring back coverage for homes in danger on the coast before they collapse. It's called the Prevent Environmental Hazards Act. It authorizes the National Flood Insurance Program to give payouts so that some people can demolish or relocate their home before it's destroyed. Right now, that bill is stuck in committee, but we will keep an eye on it for you. All right. pull up the fancy graphics. If you have any ideas or questions, you know where to send them. I'm your guy. Email dan@wral.com. Tell me what's on your mind, and we'll go in depth.